According to the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services, they receive, investigate, and act upon a report of child abuse or neglect every 5 minutes, child sex abuse every 2 hours, and the death of a child by abuse or neglect every day and a half. These astounding statistics are only for the state of Illinois, as each state has their own juvenile system with a welfare department. Today I'm going to discuss the roles of a caseworker during a juvenile abuse and neglect case. There are a few key terms that I'm going to go over with you now that will help you better understand the ideas that I'm going to discuss today. The first is a caseworker. A caseworker is a trained welfare worker who supervises families during the juvenile abuse and neglect case. A juvenile abuse and neglect case is a case not necessarily involved in formal court proceedings where harm to a child that is caused by a parent or caregiver is taken care of and watched over by these agencies. There are two main categories for abuse and neglect cases. The first is an injurious environment, and the second is an injurious act to a child. Another helpful definition is the definition of DCFS and CPS. In Illinois, the Child Welfare Department is called the Department of Children and Family Services. Other states' agencies like this are referred to as Child Protective Services. For the purpose of my speech today, I'm from Illinois, so I will be using the Department of Children and Family Services. These are all government welfare programs that act to protect children. An intact case is a case which is investigated but not referred to a court system. Typically, these cases often make up a group of families with no prior involvement or major neglect indicators. Cases referred to the court system are actually far more frequent and often very serious. The courts help to ensure that the parents are doing their services and that children are protected. The goal of all agencies and their staff is to keep families together and provide a safe environment for each and every child. Another goal of these types of agencies is to reunite families that have been separated. I have chosen this topic for a couple of reasons. The first is that I've done extensive research, as this is my ideal career path. I've also worked for an attorney who specializes in juvenile abuse and neglect cases and seen many sides of this field. It is important to talk about these types of cases and those who provide support for the families, such as caseworkers, because of a bad stigma that surrounds the same. I hope I can share with you more information about caseworkers and what they do for families who are in need of the services of a child welfare department. I also hope that I can help reduce the bad stigma of these cases, agencies, and sometimes caseworkers. Throughout my speech, I will use an example of a family involved in the juvenile system. The Smith family is an intact family who was involved with DCFS after Mrs. Smith was pulled over for a DUI one day after work with her 2 children in the car. Her family's caseworker, along with the investigator and her supervisor, made the decision not to refer the case to the court system for formal proceedings. Of course, this is not a typical outcome, just a simple one to help explain my points. I will refer back to the Smiths throughout my speech while we discuss how caseworkers explain and help understand the juvenile system to families and what is expected of them, provide guidance and support to these families, and evaluate and obtain the proper services that these families are in desperate need of. Let's begin with how a caseworker can help families better understand the court process. Caseworkers serve many roles. One of those roles is to help families understand the court process so that they better understand what is expected of them and what kind of things that they will experience while the pendency of their case. Navigating the juvenile system can be very overwhelming to those who are not familiar with the same. Parents and families can get a better idea of what is expected from them from their caseworker. When parents understand what changes are expected of them, they can meet these expectations and complete the services needed to have their children returned to their care. Back to the Smith family. A caseworker in this situation would introduce the Smiths to how DCF works and what will happen in their case. The caseworker would also explain to Mr. and Mrs. Smith what will be expected of them to do throughout the pendency of the case. Caseworkers may also provide information such as packets, helpful websites, and support systems where they are available. The next role we will discuss is providing guidance and support. Providing guidance and support to families is another crucial role of caseworkers during a juvenile abuse and neglect case. Caseworkers can navigate the system in a way that has the most direct effect on their clients. Having the same caseworker throughout the process is also helpful to families as it provides them with stability. Ryan, Gardner, Zephyr, and Zai report that a study done by the University of Illinois School of Social Work found that families associated with only one caseworker were significantly more likely to be reunited at the pendency of the case. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Family Services, providing positive support to families by caseworkers that these families might not otherwise have can have a huge positive effect on reuniting families. Another part of providing support is to help the families build their own support system so that when a caseworker is done with the case, these families are not lost without them. If we reflect back on the Smith family, the caseworker would help the family understand the reasons that they became involved with DCFS. The caseworker would also provide encouragement to the parents to help them make the best decisions for their family. Finally, when families are in need of services from agencies that we have discussed, they can count on their caseworker to evaluate them and obtain the proper services that they need. Caseworkers act to have families properly evaluated for any services that may be needed, as well as making the proper referrals for those services. The study done by Ryan, Gardner, Zephyr, and Zai concluded that caseworkers have a considerable discretion in determining the nature, amount, and quality of benefits and sanctions provided by their agencies. Caseworkers evaluate families for services such as drug and alcohol treatment, domestic violence courses, counseling, life skills, parenting classes, and many, many more services. Caseworkers evaluate both parents and kids for services based on the diverse characteristics of the family, and then use those evaluations to obtain appropriate services. In our Smith case, the caseworker, based upon her evaluations and investigation, found the mother to be a functional alcoholic. She was ordered to undergo substance abuse treatment, attend AA and therapy, as well as couples therapy for the husband, and also individual counseling for the children. As I conclude my speech today, I hope that you all have learned something that will be beneficial to you and will help you, a friend, or family member. Caseworkers serve many roles during juvenile abuse and neglect cases. I have discussed how caseworkers explain the process and what is expected of them during a DCFS case, how caseworkers provide guidance and support to families, as well as evaluate and refer them for proper services. I hope that I have provided you with useful information about caseworkers that you can use, as well as pass along to someone who can use agency help or doesn't know much about the juvenile system. By sharing the information that we have learned today, we can help individuals understand a caseworker's role, as well as reduce the poor stigma that surrounds these types of juvenile cases and their employees. Unfortunately, according to the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services, up to 80% of abuse and neglect goes unreported, and 1 in 5 Illinois children is abused by the age of 18. Let's spread the word about these types of cases and the wonderful people that can definitely help families as they go through agency services.